You know, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Welcome to the channel. My name is Hardcore Noob, and today we're going to be playing, in my opinion, what is one of the greatest PC games of all time, and the sequel to that PC game, World of Warcraft, Warlords of Draenor. So far, we've played about 5 minutes of this game and just moved around really quickly. The point of this is going to be an entire walkthrough of a hero from 90 all the way up to max character level, and then hopefully in the future to take him on some raids. A little bit about myself. I grew up with this game. I played it since the original World of Warcraft and have been a Blizzard fan since Warcraft 2. So I can't hide the amount of passion and enthusiasm that I'm feeling right now. And the only thing that's blocking me is the server queue, which of course, as all World of Warcraft players have kind of experienced whenever there's a new launch. And in fact, if there wasn't a queue, I would feel like part of the experience was missing, because at least for World of Warcraft, this is something we've grown to expect, and I feel like it's almost like the marinade before a meal. It's when you get to a restaurant, you ordered, and now you're just sitting there having conversation, sipping some wine, and just waiting for your meal to come out. My character that I'll be playing for this walkthrough is an enhancement shaman. I've always loved the versatility and the utility of a shaman, being able to do ranged DPS as well as melee DPS, and also heal on occasion whenever my party or raid calls for it. I also have two other near max level characters. I have an 85 tank called, that's a Death Knight tank on the Horde side, and a 90 Warlock that's on the Horde side. The Shaman that I'll be playing is actually on the Alliance side, and the reason that we're playing is that on Draenor, the Alliance outnumber the Horde slightly, and there's a much better, I would say, raid progression in terms of the type of guilds you could join. With that being said, a quick refresher on the storyline where we are today. So if you played in Mists of Pandaria, what happened was that Garrosh Hellscream, who we meet in, who's actually just throughout Warcraft lore, rather, becomes the Horde war chief. He is pretty much an egomaniacal racist, goes around killing, gets corrupted by the Shah, which is the magical energy of Mists of Pandaria, and eventually becomes the endgame raid boss. Now, your party actually takes down Garrosh Hellscream, but the storyline, the part of the story at least that's kind of shown off stage, is that Garrosh gets rescued, and then he goes back in time, and that's when the Horde, instead of getting corrupted by Manoroth's blood, kind of change history, and that's what you'll see in the intro cinematic, which is of course always beautiful, because Blizzard, the one thing they will always do right is intro cinematics. As we get closer and closer to launch now, I really can't hide my excitement. Just about 10 more minutes left to go. And this is actually being made on November 13th. So, November 14th. So this game has been out for one day. But yet, I've not yet had a chance to play it, much more than for just a couple of minutes popping in and out. Now with the storyline being said, one of the things that's also kind of cool, now that we have modern day PCs and whatnot, is I'm currently getting about 200 frames per second. I will be recording this in 1080p. I have a Gigabyte i7 with 8 gigs of RAM, with 8 cores hyper-threading, and the i7 is 4710HQ. And my RAM is DDR3L. So I've got a pretty jacked up computer for this game, and for me, I've always been a PC gamer. Now, I'm not one of those people that's kind of an elitist and says, if you're playing on consoles, you're a peasant. Although I do believe that the experience on a console is somewhat inferior. Just the controls of a PC, the mice, the mouse, the keyboard, being able to chat with your friends just through typing, all the great things that have found their way into consoles, from voice chat to online play and whatnot. That all started with PCs. And I remember back in the day, I think I was maybe in high school. I was probably I want to say 15, maybe even 18 years ago. No, probably not 18, but probably about 15 years ago. The original Warcraft 2, I remember having to call through a dial-up and just randomly talking to some guy on the message board. Turned out to be some kid, and then dialing up and playing with him, and it turned out that I would have these random people that I would be playing with. Some people were friends I knew from school that also were into Warcraft, and it's just very cool to see this kind of passion that we've all had. That perhaps when we were kids, we were just like, oh, this is a really cool, interesting game, has blossomed into what Warcraft is today. Speaking of which, if you look at the numbers, Warcraft has been in somewhat of a decline. We're hovering around 6 million unique subscribers. At the height of Warcraft, it was over 10 million uniques. And what's happened is people have moved away from MMOs, at least subscription-paid MMOs, to free-to-play, stuff like Planetside. But generally, when it comes to the bread and butter of high-quality AAA MMO titles, nobody has been able to dethrone World of Warcraft. I played games like Star Wars, the MMO, City of Heroes, all of NCSoft's kind of random stuff, all Try on the World's random games. But again, none of them have ever been able to match the deep storyline, the engaging lore, the gameplay of World of Warcraft. And say what you will about the graphics, some people love them, some people hate them, but they've always made it that. And I think this is kind of a testament to the brilliance of Blizzard, is they've always made it so that almost anybody can play, regardless of the quality of your PC. And so that's really led to the success of this game. And you can see Blizzard kind of does that with a lot of games. They take genres that aren't that accessible for a new gamer and takes out the stuff that might not appeal to a new gamer. So, for example, I'm playing Hearthstone right now, and that's based upon Magic the Gathering. And if you're a brand new player to TCG's trading card games, Magic is infinitely more complex in both strategy and in gameplay, which is great if you are a hardcore grinder in TCGs like I am. But for a new player, Magic is very, very difficult to learn and to pick up. On the flip side of the coin, you have a game like League of Legends or Dota 2 or even Heroes of New World, all these MOBA games that's interestingly based upon the original Dota map that was created off of Blizzard, and Blizzard has finally kind of come full circle to create Heroes of the Storm, and you'll see some Heroes of the Storm's videos on my channel. Right now, I've found that it's a completely different gameplay from all the other types of MOBAs that are out there. Just because a lot of Heroes of the Storm is made for casuals. There are no items in the game, which is definitely one of the barriers to entry with MOBA, since you don't know really how to build your characters and you feel bad. The community in Heroes of the Storm is also, I want to say, a little bit better than all the other games, at least I found so far. And of course, the heroes are heroes that you've known and grown up with. So it is interesting to see how Blizzard takes these genres that have many times been influenced or grown from Blizzard, and then eventually takes it and makes it casual, quote in quotes, because at the end of the day, nobody that I know who plays WoW plays it casually. A lot of people might call themselves casual, but they'll still pop in for a good raid here or there. Speaking of which, there's a bunch of changes to this new version of World of Warcraft. First of all, its character models have been completely updated, which is something that was absolutely needed, and I'm finally glad that they took care of that. A lot of more textures, a lot more rich detail and depth in the graphics, and that's something we'll be able to see because, again, I have everything set up to ultra settings, and so we'll be able to get a nice peek into how some of the character models look. Another thing that they've added is housing for characters, being able to own, and you can see the trajectory of that with pets. And eventually, housing was something that I remember we played the original Warcraft, something that players clamored for over 10 years ago, and it was one of those, okay, we'll get to it. It looks like they finally got into it, and so that's also something that's going to be interesting to explore. But most importantly, it's going to be the new zone. Being able to go back, kind of kind of has that almost like reminiscence of, ooh, I'm just, you can't see me right now, but I am really, my hands are starting to get a little sweaty. It's just now that we're less than 150 people in the queue. But as I was saying, being able to get into the new zone through Blasted Lands, through the Dark Portal, in a lot of people's opinion, the original expansion, Burning Crusade, was probably the best expansion. It was hardcore. A lot of people loved being able to grind it out, and it was one of the expansions that really took a step forward in the game. For me personally, I didn't get to play that expansion as much as I would have. I came in at the tail end of that, and a lot of the raid content was already done, and that's something that will always suck about MMOs is when you actually start. If you start at the end life cycle of an expansion, a lot of the cool raids, nobody's going to be raiding them anymore, so you'll be missing out on a lot of the mechanics. Now, on the flip side, you do get to see the end game, you get to see the end game bosses, but there is that sense of I missed out. That was slightly different from me with Wrath of the Lich King, where I joined somewhere in the middle of the life cycle of that expansion, so I was able to do the Fortress of Lich King. I forget what it's called now, but eventually got up to fighting Arthas and will wipe on him many times, but never had the actual satisfaction of killing Arthas, and I left way before they finally nerfed him all the way down. And then in Mr. Pandaria, I came back towards the tail end of that as well, when most of the raid content was already solved, and there was different tiers of raid content and whatnot. So this is why just a return to Warlords of Draenor, it reminds me of a return to the roots of the game. So that's probably the main reason why I've gotten in on this on day one, to be able to really show the experience, to be able to go through the zone when there's a bunch of other people there. And now I know that there's going to be some non-optimal gaming experiences, such as nodes not being replenished fast enough, or perhaps there's going to be too many people trying to do the same quest at the same time. If it's a kill 10 mob quest, the hard part is not actually killing the mob, it's actually finding 10 of them and tapping them before somebody else actually gets to it. So there will be some of that grind fest times 2, just because we are in the day one launch of the game, and that's something we're going to have to mentally be prepared to deal with. And the last thing is, of course, all the changes to all the different classes, and I have absolutely zero idea how to play an Enhancement Shaman. I haven't played one since Mists of Pandaria, and that's been about, I want to say, 6 to 9 months. I kind of gave up on the game, if not even longer than 6 to 9 months, because there was such a dearth in content once you got to the end game content. So I'm so glad to be able to jump in at the beginning. Now we still have about 10 minutes left in queue, although we do see that jumping back and forth. What's more accurate is actually the position in queue. When I started this recording, before even starting the recording, when I logged in, I was position 500 something. I can only imagine what the position must be like on a server like Illidan, where people are probably waiting 4 hours to log in, I would have to guess. At the end of tonight, just for laughs, I'm going to switch servers to Illidan just to see how long the queue is. But right now, we're starting to get under around 5 minutes or so. So a couple of other things to really talk about with Blizzard. Just going back on some of the financial metrics of the company. Blizzard is owned by Activision, Bobby Kotick's company. For some of the gamers out there that might also be into finance or into tracking their favorite video game companies. Again, Activision, even though Blizzard hasn't really been contributing as much financially in the past, and I always found this interesting just because I love looking at the portfolio of video games, and I love everything about video games, not just playing them, but actually learning about the game makers, the publishers, the developers. But Activision in general is a company that believes in franchises. So they've done stuff like Guitar Hero, they've obviously Blizzard, Call of Duty franchise, that jumps to mind, and they try to launch the new one with Destiny with Bungie, and a lot of gamers hate it, a lot of gamers like it. I've seen very split reviews with that game, but one thing that you can't say about Activision is they're all about making big, sexy AAA games. They don't really do anything small, and so because of that, well, what's kind of interesting that though is even if Blizzard's subs are numbering around 6 million right now, as a whole, the company is financially more healthy than ever. Stock price is about $20 per share as of today. So kind of interesting to see what that stock price will do if World of Warcraft will move it at all. For me personally, I'm not like an investment guidance person, so I'm not going to say buy stock, don't buy stock. But I think Heroes of the Storm will definitely move the needle for Blizzard. Just having played that in the technical alpha, I think it's going to be a serious challenge to Riot Games and League of Legends. Riot Games is a $1 billion private company that runs League of Legends. So I think couple that with Hearthstone, which is a little bit more casual based, Blizzard's poised to really make a comeback. I think in 2015, given the new titles that are going to be coming out of beta and being made for a crowd that's kind of, I want to say, the model of gaming has changed. That's kind of it's more microtransaction based. A crowd that's even within World of Warcraft, you've got mounts you could buy, you could get little. Thankfully, at least nothing that actually lets you play to win. But in games like Hearthstone, where you can spend money to get better cards, that is a little bit more play to win. Things like Heroes of the Storm, where obviously following the Dota model, you're playing to buy heroes, so you're not actually playing for play to win, but you're paying for variety. And I found that the whole world is kind of embracing this model of a casual, free-to-play model that kind of started with Zynga. That's kind of been embraced through mobile games, stuff like Clash of Clans. You look at the Kim Kardashian game about Glue Mobile, that's made Kim Kardashian personally $60 million. This is a trend that's not going to stop. Yet at the same time, you have this game, World of Warcraft, that's been around for a decade, which is unheard of for any game. Never mind a AAA title, right? And yet at the same time, this game will just not die. There's no way in my mind that they're going to actually kill off this property, or this property will actually dip below profitability. It'll never have less than 1 million subs, in my opinion. I think one of the mistakes that they've made was they wait so long between content releases. Another game like EverQuest, maybe, again, that's kind of a throwback MMO, might release content expansions way too soon, in my opinion. But Blizzard, they really like the polish. They really like to take the time with their games, and so you can go year and a half, 2 years without fresh content. And when I say fresh content, yes, I know they release little patches on the side, but I mean just a blockbuster, like an expansion like Warlords of Draenor. And in my opinion, I always found that to be really interesting. Even if they have 2 or 3 teams, why not have other expansions getting queued up? Why not have 3 or 4 expansions in the pipeline? Why do gamers have to wait so long? Because engagement is so critical for success, not just in video games, but any type of media in this day and age. And so not being able to have that engaged gamers has really hurt Blizzard's growth, at least with World of Warcraft. And what you'll see is that every once in a while, when a new expansion gets released, you see a pop in the subscriber count. So as of today, there's about 6 million. It'll be interesting to see in 2-3 months what Blizzard World of Warcraft ends with. My prediction is probably going to be closer to 8 million, and really depending upon the quality of this game, it might even get up there to 9 million or so. I think the days of 10 million are probably behind World of Warcraft. I would love to be proven wrong, but I just don't think that's possible anymore, given all the different types of media entertainment that's out there. You see the same thing in television, where cable companies and broadcast companies, which used to dominate the airwaves, are now giving way to Netflix, giving way to smaller sites, entertainment sites like Crunchyroll or Drama Fever, that cater to specific passions and interests. So Blizzard kind of wrote the formula of taking a passionate interest in a niche content vertical such as MMOs, taking something and making it huge, and yet at the same time now they're experiencing some of the pains from the changes in tech that's brought out. So I'm going to take a deep breath because that was a lot of talking, a lot of rambling, a lot of stream consciousness. And again, this is one of the first streams that I've ever done, so there's definitely going to be quite a bit of talking from me. And as we look at the queue, we're at 66 right now. there's this little change realm button. I'm definitely not going to put my mouse anywhere close to that. My mouse is going to stickly straight in here. A little concerned that it's starting to slow down. 66, 65. Come on, guys, just log out of the game. Let me in. So, like I said, the more things change, the more they stay the same. If I were you and you were, ready to play this game at 8 o'clock or whatnot, maybe first you gotta have dinner prepared for the kids, or you're spending time with a significant other, do yourself a favor and start the queue. There's nothing to really lose, and kind of check up in on it. Though the one thing I will say is that when we did start the queue, the estimated time was around I want to say 25 minutes. So it'll be interesting to see when that estimated time is actually over, because then I will cut off this recording. And if you're bored right now, you can just jump ahead to the next recording, because I'm going to start that recording actually logged into the game, actually looking at some of the characters and taking some time to explore. So position queue, we're now in the 50s, almost getting there. And again, it's like being at a restaurant. You're just enjoying that beautiful red wine, enjoying good conversation, the atmosphere. I could stare at this portal for quite a while, to be quite honest. But not too long, Blizzard, not too long. And I will say, having played a couple of other games like Diablo 3, in which the server launch was a complete disaster, I can deal with waiting 4 or 5 minutes, okay? There are getting reports of DDoS attacks on day one against Blizzard, and it's just some trolls out there that are just doing what they got to do to get some attention. DDoS attacks are actually quite common, especially Heroes of the Storm. I remember after the first couple of patches, Blizzard would get attacked all the time. You have the same thing with the PlayStation Network. A lot of other people just like griefing people, and that's just part of gaming. There are all sorts of characters, and gaming doesn't necessarily attract, all the nicest people in the world, I want to say, right? You have very competitive people, you have people that might be socially awkward. At the same time, you have very nice people that I met through gaming. So it is this full spectrum of humanity, although it does over-index a little bit more with a certain type of person. The estimated queue is down to 2 minutes. I don't believe it. Now shooting back up 3 minutes. We're position 40. It's like watching a NASCAR race, but instead of a NASCAR, it's a turtle that's walking backwards. And oh man, what else can we talk about while we wait for this queue to go down? Well, I do want to take the time to again thank you first of all for actually sitting through this with me. Even if you're skipping around. For me, I'm just kind of bored, just waiting for this thing to pop. But when I say bored, I'm not like bored, in which I would be sitting in front of the screen. Instead, I'm actually making this recording. And even though I don't know who you are, I'm super happy to be able to at least communicate to you in some fashion or form. And I would love it if you would comment on this video. Just let me know what you think, some of your initial impressions from playing Warlords of Draenor. Also, if you are nice enough, or actually do enjoy the video, I would love it if you could give me just a little like. I think, for anybody that's new to doing these YouTube videos, having a little bit of feedback from users, positive feedbacks especially, although I'll take the negative feedback too, is always great to have. And now we are still stuck at position 42. Seems like we've been stuck here for the last 2-3 minutes. I just wonder if that position counter is all of a sudden broke. That would just be devastating. That would be heartbreaking. We're gonna let the stream continue as we're nearing the end.